Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to episode 89 of the Knuckle Sammich podcast, the official MMA podcast of Sauce on the Side. As always, Dippers, I'm your host, Drake, joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Thomas R. Shackelford.
Are you ready for the news?
The news?
The news.
Well, I'm ready for any kind of news.
I figured up our 2020 record.
2020 is the year of the picks.
It is. You know, I've changed my stuff up. So originally when we did the show...
Uh-oh. Now Shackelford, he doesn't even bet, and he's now explaining to you how he's figured out betting.
The process has changed. And it's changed because I've had to figure out what bet is. Used to, I would pick the fighter that I thought was going to win. I'd watch fights. This guy should win. It worked out. I felt like we had a good run, and then we probably have been about 500. I'd say maybe a hair above 500.
Oh, dude. For the totality of this podcast?
For the totality.
No, dude. You're not even
think
close.
Worse or better?
Way better.
Okay. Well,
because, dude, you think about...
I'm self-depreciating a little bit.
How many of these fights do we get that are absolute fucking layups?
Well, that's the thing. I think we get a lot of the layups right, and a lot of the close ones, if we are close to 500, haven't been that good. So what I've done is I've gone through, and this will be the fourth card. I've been a smarter gambler with your money, to where I'm not picking the fight.
It's about time you're starting to worry about my risk.
I mean, I feel like you've probably won more money than you've lost at this point. I've weighed the risk with, that's a close fight. This guy should win. So it's worked out. The process started with the McGregor Cowboy card, and I put it in wins, losses, and asterisks. The asterisks were the fights that I told you. Like Roxanne Modafferi, she's a giant dog. If you're betting the whole card down, go the other way. If you're trying to make some money and doing this way, she's a very good bet.
Right.
We also did that with one on this last card, last minute, not on the show. Did it on the pick'em sheet, texted you, James Krause. Last minute edition. And we'll talk about that one here in a little bit. But I'm adding him in my losses. So the Krause I'm adding into my losses are this year records.
You should. You know what that fight lost me?
What?
$100 bill.
Did it really?
Yep.
Okay.
You sounded confident.
Hold on. I didn't lose you that. We'll talk about that here in a minute. So, win, loss, you got to listen to the show asterisks to get the, 50-50 split. We are 13-2-3.
What?
We are 13-2-3. 13-3-2.
Either way.
13-3-2. That's including Krause, which was a last minute that I told you about and put on the pick'em sheet. That includes 13-3-2. Guess how many dogs?
How many?
5.
5 dog winners?
5 dogs. 13-3-2. The process is working.
Dude,
I figured it up last night because I knew I was doing well. I was looking at. I keep my pick'em sheets. I even drop them after the fights. Like, hey, this is what we did last week. Get ready for next week. You know what I've been noticing on Twitter?
What?
My followers are up. I think I'm a little over. I think I'm over a little over 700.
What? That's twice as many as me.
Every day I get on there, there's a betting website that has added me. Swear to God, because I started tagging.
You're going to be a professional gambler without ever betting.
I'm really losing money here. So I started looking, and some of these are like big gambling sites. They probably just add me because I hashtagged betting tips or something. A lot of them are dudes with 100, 200, 300 followers.
Those are the real ones.
They're the real motherfuckers. They're like, hold on, this son of a bitch makes it easy. I don't know if they're listening to the show. They're at least looking at the picks. I guarantee it. And right now, we're doing them justice.
Dude, that
13-3-2 with 5 dogs.
I'm trying to just wrap my head about how hard that is to do, dude.
It's pretty tough.
You have more dog winners than you have losses.
It's not bad. I'm telling you, back in the day when you first started gambling on fights and asking me for stuff, I felt like the lines were messed up. I feel like I'm back in touch. I'm back in touch with like, hold on. But it's because I'm understanding the bet system a little bit. I still can't tell you numbers. Don't ask me to tell you numbers. But I ask you, dog, slight dog, where is he at? Let's go with him.
Daddy's got his fastball back.
I feel good. I say that this weekend I'm giving you no picks. It's an unbettable card. It's an unbettable card. I'm not beating the streak.
After you told me 13, 3 and 2, I went ahead and deposited 3,000. I deposited 3,000 in my Bovada account, and I was just going to bet the whole card this weekend.
I tagged you in that thing last night. One of the Vegas dudes that he's a thumbprint. His thumb is firmly on the pulse of the betting community. Brett Okamoto tweeted out somebody put a $15,000 bet on Adesanya to beat Romero and then Ferguson to beat Khabib, and I think it's a payout of like $49,000. They said.
Oh my goodness!
I don't hate that bet.
I don't hate it either.
I think that guy's on something.
What was the first fight?
It was Adesanya beating Romero.
Wow.
Which, in Romero's last fight, you remember he looked a little chinny. You got to think Adesanya tags him a few times. And I've been watching a lot of Ferguson and Khabib. I've got some thoughts how that fight's going to go. That's going to be a tough one to call.
El Kakui's going to win.
Man, the more and more I watch, the more I lean towards him.
I agree. So, we have to discuss UFC 247, UFC Fight Night 167. I think everybody's going to be okay that the intro was a little delayed. But 6 minutes into this show, Leighton, producer, you know what to do. All right, Mr. Shackelford, now that we're 7 minutes into the podcast, we can start talking about the fights. Dude, 13-3, and that is unbelievable.
13-3-2, and that's me being nice. That's giving the Krause loss on me.
Yes, and you told me that one.
Now we'll talk about why that Krause loss was not against me.
Let's take it.
Because he didn't lose that fight.
That's what you'd said.
It was a split decision. Mm-hmm. One judge gave it to him, one judge gave it to Giles. Split cards, 2-1, 2-1 both ways. The judge that decided it gave it a 30-27 for Giles. Now, in order to get that means he would have... It may not have been 30-27, maybe messed up, but one of the rounds, he gave Giles the first round. What happened in the first round? Krause 1-2, takedown, has his back... 4 minutes.
4 minutes of control.
4 minutes of a 5-minute round, has control of his back, had at least 3 very, very close subs. I'm going to give Giles the credit here. This is why I'm taking the loss. He did get his way out of it. He technically, jiu-jitsu wise, got his way out of those rear naked chokes. Against Krause, that's a major feat. Krause won
But that doesn't mean you're winning the fight.
Krause won that round. He run round 1. He got beat up in round 2, nowhere near a 10-8 though. And then he won round 3, I felt like. He won that fight. That judge also is the same judge that gave John Jones 4-1 rounds.
That is
in a fight that almost consensus, people have said that Reyes won 1 and 2, hands down.
Hands down.
A lot of people think he won 3 and then he lost 4 and 5. I've even heard breakdown from Big John McCarthy and Josh Thompson the other day that Josh Thompson had it 4-1 Reyes.
I did. Here's what I had. And we'll go ahead and talk about the Jones fight since we're here.
Yeah, I mean, that's other than that, there was some other wacky scorecards throughout. Lauren Murphy, Angela Lee. There was one more. I forget the guy's first prelim. The little Mexican dude. I think Mexican dude clearly won. I think the other guy's hand or arm had gotten broke, and he didn't throw many punches for the last 2 rounds. I mean, that guy clearly got ripped off too. So there was about 4 fights that guy. I think that guy was on 3 fights in this thing, and all 3 fights he was
Jonathan
on.
Martinez versus Andre Ewell.
Yes,
yep.
that was the one. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but really solid card, fun card. Jones Reyes was.
We got to change the scoring system. Here's my opinion. You ready?
I do want to hear it. Yes.
All right. Panels of 13 judges.
I don't hate that.
Panels of 13 judges. 3 is 2. It's too clear cut with 3.
Yeah.
And I think that if we got to where we did 13 scores.
So you don't think we should change the rules of how they score? Mm-mm. You think they should add judges?
Because that's fine. Yeah. That's the way it's been forever. Okay. I'm completely okay with that.
Okay.
Because now if we go up to 13 judges, which here's my judging panel. So how many officials do they have in a night?
I think they have like five
officials,
and then like they kind of like a couple will do a couple, and a couple others will do a couple.
Okay, 3 judges. 3 of the judges are officials for the night. So the way that this will work is, if I'm the fifth guy, if I'm going to be a ref for the 5th fight of the night, I help judge the first 3. I take a break to get ready for the fight that I'm going to be officiating, and then I am going to take a break for one, and then I officiate the 5th one, and then I'm back in the judge's seat. So that way you have 3 of the judges that are actual MMA officials, and then you fill up the panelist with ex-fighters. You get 3 or 4 on the card for each one, and then you just take other officials that would be scoring the fight and you add them in there. Now with 13, you're not getting down to, hey, 2 people thought I lost that fight, because one loss on your UFC record can basically end your run.
Oh, you know? A lot of people that does. A lot of people, they get a 2-fight deal and they lose one
out,
or even if they win one and then they lose a very, very close one, and they're like, well, we're not hot or cold on them, but we'll
and you only fight 3 times a year, so that is why we need to add officials. And now you get down to, instead of going ahead and scoring it the way that you would, you just take all the scores from the 13 cards and you add them together. That way we increase the amount of draws we have. We increase the amount of judges, which means more eyes are being laid on the fight. More eyes are officiating this fight. And ultimately, we have better outcomes. And I guarantee if you did the 13 judges, you would have way less controversy on the cards.
I think so, too. Just by nature. You got 13 people, It's like a courtroom.
Yes.
There's 12 judges or jurors for a reason, right?
Yep. But the reason why I added 13 is so
you have an odd
number.
I get it. I like that. The biggest problem to me is how they score. So when you break down how they score, it's the first criteria is damage. That's not like, oh, I punched you and knocked you down. That's I landed more significant strikes. I got a big takedown that led to side controller mount. I took your back. Those are. It's like damage and positions. To break down the positional work, positions that I could create the most damage from. So if you get, for instance, John Jones, he's saying he won the fight because he got takedowns. He didn't get it. I don't even know if those takedowns were scored in the wrestling match.
No.
His butt touched, he hopped right back up. The way John McCarthy, who's one of the dudes that wrote the rules, said, that is nothing more than a positional change. That's nothing more than me pushing you into the fence.
Yep.
I didn't do anything. That's positional change. That's nothing more than me taking a step to my right, throwing a punch, and missing. We moved positions, but I didn't score anything.
Yes.
Number 2 is, I believe, is where they going into like volume, who is thrown more, and then you start working your way into who is the aggressor. Now the problem with that, I can list you several fights. One of the last ones being Jose Aldo versus Marlon Moraes. You told me Marlon Moraes won. The internet you told me you thought Aldo did enough to win. A lot of the internet said when I watched that fight, Aldo was most definitely pushing forward, but he wasn't really landing the bigger punches. It'd be he was pushing, Moraes would 1-2, 1-2, move, and then same thing. To me, Moraes eked out that 3rd round to win the fight. You could look at a bunch of Dominic Cruz fights, him versus Faber, him versus Dillashaw. There's a bunch of fights that it's so close of, hey, this guy threw a little more, but this guy only landed half as much, but clearly hurt him a little bit. And the decisions, some have gone to the guy that hit more, some have gone to the guy that hit more effective. It's a coin toss once you get there.
Yep.
We clearly just need judges that know what the hell they're doing. Again, John McCarthy said that judge that gave that round to Giles, he is supposedly a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who owns his own academy somewhere. I don't know how you have any belt in jiu-jitsu and watch a man nearly be choked out for 4 minutes and call that a win. You were talking about career changing. Dominic Reyes, John Jones doesn't give immediate rematches. He didn't to DC. He didn't to Gustafson. Santos is a little different. He's had knee issues. He's not giving Reyes another shot for a year, 2 years.
I agree.
He's Floyd Mayweather-esque in that, where he's good at catching these guys young. He's good at catching them young. And I think, I've been saying it for a long time, John Jones is more long than he is a good striker. What happened when he went up against a guy that's as tall as him?
Yeah.
Both times, Gustafson and Reyes. Even in Gustafson, too, Gustafson was landing some punches. The problem is he doesn't punch that. He's an accumulative striker as opposed to a one-punch guy. Right. Good fight. Do not look for that matchup to come up. The next matchup is going to be the winner of Corey Anderson and
Blachowicz. I agree. Yeah. But my thing with this fight in particular, so if you go ahead, you do the 3 judges scoring, you go ahead and you throw in some guys like Eddie Bravo, you may even throw in like Dwayne Ludwig, you might throw in...
You remember back in the day, Eddie Bravo, you remember boxing, they do like a Larry Merchant scorecard or something? They used to do that with Eddie Bravo. Guess what happened?
He was right all the time?
No. What happened is he was wrong.
He was wrong.
He was scoring it as an intellectual guy that knows about jiu-jitsu and striking, and his cards that they were flashing on air were different from what the judges were popping out.
That's a problem.
It is a problem. So, you got a guy that's a world-level BJJ athlete who's watched martial arts his entire life, who's watching this fight like, this dude's winning.
And he's smart.
And he's got a brain on him that hasn't been punched in. He's watching these. His scorecards are this, and then Judge so and so says this. From what I understand, the commissions took that. Now this is a different age of commission. This is, you're lucky to be here. Worship us, commission. Like the commission made the UFC, like you're just lucky we even let you in here, get that guy out of here type thing. Right. Maybe it would be different now, but one thing they've talked about is I just saw Kansas, I believe, is going to flirt with having open scoring.
That's fine. You should know. I need to know if I need to do a Hail Mary at the end.
To me, I feel like it's like when we're coaching a wrestling match or I'm in a wrestling match, I always know the score. Mm-hmm. I've had a couple hundred wrestling matches. I knew the score in every single one of them.
Yep.
I expect our kids to know that. However, our kids usually don't know that.
Right.
So it's one of those things that like their coach should be honestly telling them, hey man, you need this round. But a lot of times you listen to these corners and they're like, you're winning, man. You're winning. And you're watching like, dude, there's no way he's winning this fight. Like, right. Some of that's how you talk to your athlete. You got to get him up and down. So open scoring is going to change some fights. What if, I think it's going to change you're going to get some guys that say, hey, I'm up 3 rounds, I'm not doing shit.
Right.
I'm just backpedaling because there's no stallings, there's nothing like that. And then you got some guys like, hey, I'm down, I'm going bombs away, and he's going to get finished or he's going to get.
But if you win 3 rounds, I think that's your luxury to know that you're winning.
I don't disagree.
And be able to stay away.
Imagine how fun those live fights will be now if they have a thing. Jones, Reyes is up 3-1 going into the 4th. Like the crowd's going to go insane.
Yep. No, I absolutely agree. I think that's a way we could fix it. You throw in coaches from different camps that don't have fighters in the card. You throw in, ex-judges. You throw in ex-fighters. You get a panel of 13 guys that know what they're doing. You get your Eddie Bravos out there. You get your Dwayne Ludwigs out there. Even like the guys from the Winklejohn camp. You throw, if they don't have a guy on the card.
As many of the smarter...
Yes.
More technical guys.
And I think that's how we fix the problem.
It would be, I like that. Mm-hmm. The more judges, flirt with open scoring. What we got right now, man, when you got a guy watching a fight that's, I heard a stat, some radio show pulled up a stat. That guy he has done 8 No, to that point he had done 7. He had done 7 UFC fights, and he did 3 that night. So out of the 10, his scorecards were they were egregiously wrong
compared to everybody else.
So far different than the other 2 judges. I think 7 of the 10 times. And the other 3, he went opposite of the other judges, but it was a split decision.
Wow.
So it was like you could, and they said it was easy to find, like you could pull them up and put them side by side and see like what fights he was involved in that he picked a split decision where the other guys had a unanimous.
Right.
Or his card was 100% different.
Right.
Than the other guys.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, 10 fights, if you've done 10 fights, your resume is now big enough that you can get a little stat on you.
The sample size is big enough to know that this guy does not need to be officiating anymore, and we need to move along. I honestly think that that's one way we could fix it, and I hope that that's something that they look at, hopefully in the near future. A couple little things on this fight. Obviously, you picked Dan Ige to win. Picked up a huge win there. 3-round decision. Not much to talk about there other than we got another dog howling. We had Derek Lewis beating Ilir Latifi. A lot of people thought that Derek Lewis didn't win that fight. I didn't feel like that decision was as egregious as...
and that was one people were pointing to, like, hey, that Latifi got a bunch of takedowns, but he did nothing with him, whereas Lewis was damaging him when he was standing up.
Exactly.
So that fight got scored for him in the same way that Reyes lost. He
was the exact opposite.
So it's, same style, just the different side of the aisle wins.
And that's a problem. And then... you had Juan Adams show that we can't trust him. He's out of the UFC now. He's terrible.
I don't ever like to say somebody's terrible, but man, he's a guy with expectations like what they put on, and that could be the problem. Expectations could have killed him, but
yes,
who knows?
Valentina Shevchenko absolutely dominates. Caitlin Kukajan dominate. What do you think's next for her? I mean, there's nobody that can compete with her.
The next longest winning streak in that division fought on that card also. It was Lauren Murphy, who lost a semi-controversial, very close fight to Andrea Lee, and it's a 2-fight win streak.
Wow.
So you maybe give her. You got Weili Zhang, who could always bump up, but she's got Joanna coming up, and I'm not sure who I'm picking on that yet. I hear a lot of people calling for the trilogy fight with Amanda Nunes. It's not a trilogy. Nunes is 1-2.
Yes.
It would be another fight, but I don't. Amanda Nunes in her last fight, it didn't blow a lot of people's hair back, so I don't think they're calling for that anymore.
And every time Valentina fights, it blows your hair back. I don't even have hair, and I'm sitting there in my hair. I look like John Stamos at the end of every one of her fights.
I say maybe throw Lauren Murphy in there, see if anybody's gonna come up. If anybody's gonna come up, you just gotta let it breathe a little.
Yep. All right. So UFC Fight Night 167. Obviously, we have Crazy Man Diego Sanchez on this card.
You see who he's fighting?
Michael Pereira.
Michelle Pereira, the backflip guy.
Oh, no!
Yeah!
That's going to be crazy!
It's hands down craziest fight I think I've ever encountered.
So you're picking that one?
No. That's going as my mind-blown match of the day. I don't know who's going to win that. I honestly tell you. The only one I'm picking, I'll tell you now, is going to be Corey Anderson versus Blagojevich. I'm going to go Corey Anderson. I think if either one of them improved since her last outing, it's him. And Anderson blanked him, I think, 30-27 the last time they fought. So I'm going to go Corey Anderson. No, I cannot pick Sanchez versus Pereira. Get your popcorn ready. That's what I can.
Get your popcorn ready. That's going to be a great fight.
The bet's going to be don't leave the television, whether it goes 15 seconds or 15 minutes.
That's going to be a great fight. Tim Means is also on this card.
Yeah.
John Dodson versus Nathaniel Wood. That'll be a good fight.
That's a tough one. Did you see the next one down?
Jim Miller, Scotty Tuhati.
There you go, baby.
Scott Holtzman.
That one's going to be fun.
That'll be a blast.
Top to bottom, there's actually a lot of great fights. I like that little Mark De La Rosa guy, little bitty guy starting the night off. Macy Chi's on. That Marab I don't know how to say that last name. Marab.
Davishvili?
Yeah, I think he's out of the Henzo Gracie camp. He's a guy to keep your eye on. Ray Borg's in here. Like I said,
Lando Venata versus Yancy Medeiros.
That's going to be a fun one.
There's a lot of really good fights here.
On my little pick'em sheets that I'm going to drop, I've noted the fighters kind of keep an eye on. You may not heard of them now, but keep an eye on them. And then I've got some notes of like the dudes, the old salty dogs that are going to be there that are just
Salty Dogs Howling, baby.
Your mind's going to be blown.
Yep,
so.
no, I'm excited for this card. I think top to bottom, this card is better than last week.
Yeah,
I think the only thing is we just don't have the John Jones. We don't have the Valentino. We don't have that name there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of really good fights there. Starting off with Corey Anderson there as the main event. I am actually excited for that fight. Let me pop up. Did you happen to look at the odds of that fight?
I gotta think that Anderson's probably the favorite after the Johnny Walker fight.
So Pereira is a favorite over Diego Sanchez.
Okay.
And I'm looking for the odds.
I won't pick it.
Corey Anderson minus 210.
I won't give you a 100%. This is my pick, but I like Diego in that fight.
I do too, and he's a dog.
Especially we saw Pereira last time really fade.
Diego never. He won't stop.
He either gets knocked out dead early or he doesn't stop. We know that about him. I could easily see him. God, I hate to do it. I'm going to say Diego gets the win.
I do too.
I'm calling it. It's in his hometown. It's in Rio Rancho. That's New Mexico. That's his hometown, home base of where he started. I find it hard to believe a man's going to stop the craziest son of a bitch on earth.
I agree.
In that stadium.
I agree.
So I am giving you two picks: Anderson, Sanchez.
I knew I'd get you in this.
If this was an hour-long podcast, we'd go top to bottom. But
no,
that's all you're getting out of me. Two picks.
All right. We can live with that, guys. Hopefully you enjoy the fights this week. Next week we will actually even discuss a boxing match, biggest boxing match of the year, and it's only February. We have Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. That is a fight that we can discuss next week. Any other news and notes around MMA that you want to discuss before?
One weird thing, did you see Manny Pacquiao sign with Conor McGregor's fight promotion?
I did see that. Manny versus Conor. I think that's what we're going to get.
Well, I wonder...
You rarely see...
it's hard to think a guy that owns a promoting business fight one of his guys under his umbrella. He's gonna make more money off Manny as a fighter than he's going to fight Manny.
Okay. Well, that's
we'll
one way
see,
to look
though.
at it. It's going to be interesting because we have never seen a fighter, a guy in the UFC, an MMA fighter, be able to pull in a boxer that's as big as the name as Manny Pacquiao to bring them in onto their team.
No, I've said it once, I've said it again. If McGregor's not your favorite UFC fighter just because of what his fighting style, his charisma and stuff there, it's impossible to not respect how he has absolutely changed the world of MMA.
Yes.
That's the end of story.
Biggest game changer there's ever been.
Yep.
And on that note, for Drake, for Mr. Shackle, for Dippers, as always, stay saucy.